The jungle of Carveth Prime breathed with 1,000 hidden eyes. Lena Cross had learned this the hard way, hanging 3 meters off the ground in a net that cut into her skin like wire. The alien hunters below circled their prize with clicking mandibles and satisfied growls, their elongated bodies covered in chitinous armor that gleamed under the violet canopy. She'd been careless. One moment she was cataloging bioluminescent fungi for the Terra Exploration Corps. The next, the ground had given way, and she'd been yanked skyward by automated snares the hunters had laid throughout the sector. Now 20 of them surrounded her dangling form, their compound eyes reflecting her terror in 100 fractured images. Human. One of them hissed in broken galactic common, its translator crackling. Rare specimen. Fetch high price on merchant's ring. Lena's heart hammered against her ribs. She knew what happened to humans who ended up in alien trafficking rings. Dissected for study, kept as exotic pets, or worse. Her fingers fumbled for the plasma cutter on her belt, but the net had twisted her arms at impossible angles. Blood trickled down her wrist where the synthetic rope had broken skin. The lead hunter raised a 6-fingered hand, signaling its companions. Prepare transport cage. We leave before. A sound split the air, not a roar but something between a shriek and a war cry that made every creature in the jungle freeze. The hunter's antennae snapped to attention, heads swiveling toward the dense undergrowth. Then they came. The predator cubs erupted from the shadows like living missiles. There were 5 of them, each no larger than a Terran wolf but built like nightmares given fur and fang. Their bodies were sleek obsidian, muscles rippling beneath pelts that seemed to absorb light itself. Crimson eyes blazed with an intelligence that made Lena's breath catch. These weren't mindless beasts. These were apex predators who had chosen their target. The boldest cub, Rin, as Lena would later learn, led the charge. He moved with a speed that defied physics, his claws extended like scythes as he launched himself at the nearest hunter. The alien barely had time to raise its weapon before Rin's jaws clamped around its throat. There was a sickening crunch, and the hunter collapsed in a heap of twitching limbs. The others followed Rin's lead with terrifying precision. They worked as a unit, flanking and striking in coordinated bursts that spoke of practiced tactics. One cub went low, hamstringing a hunter. Another leaped onto an alien's back, claws finding the gaps in its armor with surgical accuracy. The hunters fired their energy weapons wildly, bolts of plasma scorching tree trunks and setting dry leaves ablaze. But the cubs were faster. Rin bounded through the chaos, weaving between laser fire like a shadow given form, his eyes locked onto Lena, still suspended helplessly above the carnage. Without breaking stride, he coiled his powerful haunches and launched himself upward. His claws caught the tree trunk and he climbed with impossible speed, ascending the 15 meters in heartbeats. Lena watched in stunned silence as the cub reached her level. Up close he was even more magnificent and terrifying. His muzzle was stained with the hunter's blood, fangs bared in what might have been a grin. Those crimson eyes studied her with an intensity that made her feel simultaneously like prey and something else, something protected. Rin's claws made short work of the net. He didn't bite through the ropes, he shredded them. His talons, each as long as Lena's finger and sharp as monomolecular blades, sliced through the synthetic fibers as if they were gossamer. 3 precise strikes and the net fell away in ribbons. Lena dropped. She had time to gasp before powerful jaws caught the back of her jacket. Rin held her suspended by her collar, his fangs somehow avoiding her flesh even as they gripped the reinforced fabric. Then he was descending, moving down the tree with her dangling from his mouth like a cub carrying prey. Below, the battle had turned into a slaughter. The hunters, so confident in their superior numbers and technology, had been reduced to fleeing survivors. Bodies littered the jungle floor, and the remaining aliens were retreating into the undergrowth, their clicking voices high with panic. Rin set Lena down gently on solid ground. She stumbled, legs weak from hanging suspended, and found herself face to face with the cub. He stood barely chest high to her, but the power radiating from his compact frame was undeniable. The other cubs formed a protective circle around them, their eyes scanning the perimeter for threats. "Thank you," Lena whispered, not sure if the creature could understand. "You saved my life." Rin tilted his head, studying her. Then he did something that made Lena's blood run cold and warm simultaneously. He pressed his muzzle against her palm. The gesture was unmistakable. Trust, alliance, perhaps even affection. One of the other cubs made a low chirping sound, and Rin responded with a rumbling growl that seemed to vibrate through Lena's bones. The cubs began to move, forming a formation around her. They weren't leaving her. They were escorting her. As they moved through the jungle, Lena's scientific mind worked furiously. The Karveth predators were legendary, the most dangerous apex species in this sector. But they were also notoriously solitary and aggressive toward any species, including each other. Yet these cubs had coordinated a rescue mission. For her, a human they'd never met. Rin walked at her side, occasionally glancing up as if to ensure she kept pace. When she stumbled over a root, his body was there, steadying her with surprising gentleness for a creature that had just torn through armored aliens like tissue paper. The TerraCore base appeared through the trees like a beacon. The moment Lena's colleagues spotted her, bloodied, exhausted, surrounded by predator cubs, chaos erupted. Weapons were drawn, alarms sounded. "Wait," Lena shouted, throwing herself between the cubs and the security team. "Don't shoot! They saved me," Rin growled, low and warning, positioning himself in front of Lena. The other cubs fanned out, ready to defend their human charge against this new threat. The standoff stretched for agonizing seconds. Dr. Chen, the base commander, lowered his weapon first. His eyes were wide with disbelief. "Lena, how?" "I don't know," she admitted, dropping to one knee beside Rin. Her hand found the fur behind his ear, and the cub leaned into the touch with a sound that might have been a purr. "But they chose to protect me. They didn't have to, but they did." Rin looked up at her with those burning crimson eyes, and Lena understood. Humanity had stumbled into the galaxy expecting to be the underdog, the prey, the species that needed to prove itself. But here, on this alien world, the most fearsome predators had looked at a human in distress and decided she was worth saving. Not because she was weak, but because she was theirs to protect.